Hi, this is just a quick demonstration of some of the new features in the upcoming Nemesis Delay 1.14 firmware, which is going to be made available soon. So we have the Nemesis Delay Updater software. You can see that running here on my screen. And we have added to the updater these controls over on the right side, which are the global settings of the Nemesis. So a lot of these already were available in the Neuro app, for example the bypass mode and the MIDI channel, and some of these other controls like using control input for tap tempo and preset extension mode. And so I have my Nemesis connected to my computer over USB, and if I click this Read Globals button, it's going to read those back from the hardware and show me which options I have set. And it looks like the only one I have set right now is called Maintain Input Filter on Bypass. So this is for some of the sounds like the sort of deluxe Memory Man kind of sound that we have in the analog engine. There's a little bit of an input filter on that just to kind of make it a little warmer, and this will let you keep that filter enabled even when the delay effect is bypassed, so it won't sound like your guitar is getting brighter when you turn off the delays. So some of these should be self-explanatory, and we're already in the earlier versions of the firmware, like selecting the bypass mode if you want true bypass or buffered bypass, and selecting the MIDI channel. Using control input for tap tempo, this already existed as an option. Preset extension mode, this is what lets you go after you go to preset 4, you'll go to 5, 6, 7, and 8 with the inverse LEDs. Trails mode is the one that lets you, when you disable the effect, the LED turns green to show you that trails will keep going. So just a simple example of that. So I disable and the trails are still going, right? So this next one, keep delay constant on preset change, that's also an option that already existed, but this basically prevents the delay time saved in the preset from being used. So you can enable this and you can step through your presets, select a new preset, it's going to keep whatever delay time is set, whether you set that using the time knob or if you set using the foot switch, the tap foot switch. I'm going to leave that disabled just for the sake of demonstration. So for now I'm actually just going to skip the rest of this list just for the moment and show you that we now have subdivisions, tap subdivisions or tempo subdivisions, I guess you could call them, being saved on a per preset basis. So I'm going to just set my tap to the same as the first tap so we get a nice mono delay. Okay, and you can see it's going in time with my tap LED here. So I'm going to save this to preset 1. And my preset memory is empty right now. I did a factory reset, so I've cleared all my presets out. So now I will go to preset 2. There's nothing saved in there, so it's just going to keep the sound I had. But I'm going to set the tap subdivisions to dotted eighths, and you can see the LED is still blinking in time with the tempo that I tapped in. But if I play at the same rate, get a pick here. Alright, so it's at dotted eighth note rate. So I will save that and go to preset 3. This time I'll do triplets. So good. And save that. And I'll just ignore preset 4 for now. So if I go back to preset 1, I should have quarter notes. Good. Now dotted eighths. good. Dotted eighths and triplets. So you can see the subdivision is saving with the preset and it's loading correctly. And we've also implemented new subdivisions. So previously there were only these 3, and now we've implemented an additional 12, and those are going to be accessible via the app soon. I just made another video on my channel yesterday that shows something like 13 of those subdivisions in use, so you can watch that if you'd like to see how those work. Okay, moving back to the list of options here, we have something now called Allow External Loop Routing Modes. This basically, if you are using the app to set up the routing mode, the I/O routing mode, to something using an external loop where it uses input 2 and output 2 to maybe patch an effect into the delay line or something like that, we basically have required now that you turn on this switch, Allow External Loop Routing Modes, because yeah, basically you can kind of get yourself into trouble if you have some presets that use an external loop and some that don't, and you can get into situations, for example, where you have this infinite feedback loop and it's going to, you know, blow out your amp or something like that if you're not careful. And so we wanted to prevent people from being able to get themselves in situations where they could potentially cause problems like that. So now, in order to use those external routing modes, you need to turn this switch on, and you should basically only do this if you're using one of those external routing modes. Okay, and yeah, I think I already showed kill dry mode. And then, oh no, I didn't. I showed trails mode. Sorry. So kill dry mode. Yeah, this is when you have the Nemesis in a parallel effects loop and you just want the dry signal to be gone all the time. So here's what it sounds like with the dry signal. So I get the dry signal and the wet signal, and if I turn it off, turn off the delay, I still get my dry signal through. So if I enable kill dry mode, I should only ever hear the wet signal. So you hear the wet signal coming through, but you don't hear the dry signal. And then if I disable the effect, you're just not going to hear anything coming through the Nemesis at all. It's just totally silent. So that's kill dry mode. And lastly, we have use alternate mix knob response. This basically what this means is using the mix knob taper where well, let me start over again. Normally, in order to get 50% wet, 50% dry, you put the mix knob right at 12 o'clock like this, right in the middle, and basically the first repeat should be just about as loud as the dry signal you play. And anything past that will have more wet signal than dry. And then anything prior to that will have more dry signal than wet. So a lot of people tend to use this half of the knob most of the time and almost never use this half of the knob. So in that situation, you might want, for example, the 50-50 point on the mix knob to be somewhere more like here, which is about 3 o'clock on the knob. So if I enable this option, it's a global option, and now if I set my mix knob in the right spot, that's about 50-50. And the benefit of this is that now I have much more fine tuning capability on the short side of the knob here. So if I set it down pretty low, you should kind of barely hear the delays now. They're very quiet. Oops. So this might be useful, for example, if you want to do a self-oscillation type thing, but keep it from getting too loud. That's what you use the mix knob for. And yeah, that's the basic idea of the alternate mix knob response. If you use the standard mix knob response and you try to do some of those self-oscillation things, it can get tricky because you have to get the mix knob way down here to keep it from being too loud on the output. So anyway, those are the new updates for the Nemesis delay firmware version 1.14. We're going to do a quick beta test on that and get it out to the public soon. Thanks very much.